Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Awakened Heart Summit. My name is Tim Hammonds. I'm a visual storyteller. You may have heard with Giselle, we're talking about drawing and visual tools. So this is the tool section of the summit, and I've prepared a tool for you that can called the Creative Mandala that can support you with processing, emotional processing, can support you with problem solving, personal visioning, personal goal setting. It's a form of emotional release and self awareness through my favorite tools, which are visual, drawing and visual. So let me just share a little bit of story. I was doing a month long self discovery process years ago using dynamic meditation and psychodynamic processes, Carl Jung techniques. Some intense emotional experiences and some expansive experiences. And at the end of several of these processes, we sat down with a handful of, drawing tools and some paper, and we drew a circle, a simple circle. And then we just began drawing and adding, colors, elements, ideas, images, icons, and words into these circles. And at the end, we reflected on them, had meditation to integrate them and anchor them, and then have a short discussion around that. And those simple tools helped to anchor, the emotions I didn't want to see, the unacceptable or unprocessed parts or unintegrated parts. And it helped me to also, embrace the expansive parts of possibility and love and new ideas, which I also maybe was resistant to it equally. And so we lined those up at the end of this 1 month that we were together. And what I saw was like a reflection of myself, my being, my whole being. I call it picture of my soul. I saw the darkness and I saw the light and the expansiveness and all the raw energy. And it's just right there for me. I'm a very visual person, so this was very powerful for me as a representation and as a tool. So I wanted to use this in workshops, personal discovery workshops, team building workshops, even at events, dance events in Singapore on the beach, drawing a large 24-foot painted mandala on the beach and lifting it up at the end of the night to celebrate, a community drawing and energy creation and so on. So, that's the tool. That's a bit of the background. Let me just share, a little bit about who we are. Our company is Art of Awakening, and we do visual storytelling for corporate groups and learning groups, educational events, using mapping. And you see some mapping there. Drawing a simple picture helps to connect ideas, help you to see new possibilities with corporate groups and students. It helps to create a narrative through a metaphor and a story that talks about change, where we're going, what's our future, what's our vision, things that are emerging, intangible, and we give them form through a visual structure and a visual narrative and storytelling. And so what I love is beyond that is the personal breakthrough that can happen around this. 9 out of 10 adults say I can't draw. So we love to help them get over that and get through that. And so the tool that I'm going to share today, as I mentioned, is the mandala drawing. So let me just say a little bit about this. So first of all, in my discussion with Giselle, we talked about art in general. And I think that anything that you make, we call it art, right? Any mark that you make with awareness can serve as a bridge. What do we mean by that, right? I make a mark on paper. I make a drawing with some awareness about a question, about a challenge, about something that's unsettled in me. It helps me to just get that out of my system. And in that way, I can feel better, right? So that awareness is a bridge between, something unsettled and feeling a little bit more grounded, a little bit more present. I can use that to manage and process emotions, something that I'm unsettled about, problem and solution, current state, future state. That's what we do in our corporate context. So any art made with awareness can serve as a bridge to go from where you are now to where you want to go. So let me also define art. A lot of people say I can't draw, and art is something that is just for artists. Well, do you have kids? If you watch a kid making a drawing, the drawing is not about a thing. It's not about an outcome. It's about a process. It's about storytelling, essentially, right? Understanding myself in the world. And that's also what Carl Jung, who used the mandala drawings, that's how he used that, what he called individuation, understanding yourself, your ego self, in the context of the world and in your authentic voice. So art is just making a mark. You call it a drawing, a doodle. It could be with colored pencils, oil pastels, markers, and so on. So let me just quickly share what is this tool that we're going to be using today. Mandala. And what is mandala? It simply means circle and center. Yeah? It means circle and center. And I mentioned Carl Jung and his work. So we have at every, in every moment in our life, we're looking at our ego, which could be said as the periphery of the circle. It's on the outside. And then we have our authentic self, which is here at the core. Yeah? And Carl Jung in his work said that we're constantly spiraling backwards and forwards into and out of that circle throughout our lives, throughout our day. Yeah? The ego is the role we play. Yeah? The authentic self is in the morning you wake up, look at a beautiful sunrise, and you feel peace, you feel a sense of connection. Yeah? He calls this process of going back and forth between the ego and the authentic self as, his word is individuation. Individuation. Yeah? Every great religion says to know thyself. And I think at the core that's what this is about. So that's the opportunity with a mandala. It's simply a circle that you create with awareness. So what is this tool? I'm just going to turn this over here. It's a circle. So here's what you can do. So first of all, how do you start with a mandala? Yeah. Here's just a great book if you're interested in that. Judith Cornell. All right, some great tools and processes and ideas and tips to how to draw. But first of all is to assemble your materials. So I have a couple of sheets of paper here. This is a simple drawing block. A3 drawing block is a good size because you want to give yourself space, right? And you have multiple pages. I'm just going to go ahead and tear off 2 pages here. And that's my preparation. And my tools, what are you going to draw with? I prefer these oil pastels, right? Because you can get a bit of a good sense of color. You can put it down quickly. It's not too careful. You don't have to worry about spilling it like you do with paint. And it's faster than pencils. But you might also like pencils. It might be just black and white pencils. Our brain loves color, by the way, right? So I've assembled my materials. I'm going to start with 2 pages, 1 circle each. You can use a plate if you want to, and draw your circles, put that in the center, and draw it on a plate. Now I have a nice little circle there to start. And then I'm doing 2, I'll tell you why, right? Because, the essential idea of art with awareness is change. I'm going from something and to something else, right? Art is a bridge, remember that. Okay, so I've got my circle and I've got my materials. And then I take a card, and I like to use a little index card like this. It could also be on a Post-it like this, a small card with a framing question. The question could be something around your, personal or work related. Could be around finance or family. It might be something very specific. It might be something general, like what do I need to know now, or what's next for me, right? What's a framing question? That's important because your mind needs to hold on to something, right? So 2 rules when you're doing the mandala drawing. Here's the 2 rules, right? Yeah, rules, right? 2 rules is no thinking and no judgment. So what does that mean? No thinking means, okay, I want to draw a tree. because tree is about growth. No, that's thinking. You don't draw a tree because it represents growth. You allow the image and the idea to emerge as you're doing that. And number two is no judgment. No judgment would mean, oh, my tree doesn't look nice, therefore I'm going to discard it and do something else. No, that's judgment. So let go of those, because there can be a lot of that stress around drawing, and I can't draw, and all that narrative. Okay, so I've assembled my tools. I have my crayon, my markers here, oil pastels. I've got 2 sheets of paper. I've drawn 2 circles, and I have my framing question. Now here's the fun part. This is about discovery, right? So I'm going to allow myself to go into a meditative state, a meditation. And however you want to do that, I like to put on music, find quiet space. I've done great work with this in nature, because you're connected in nature, right? And you're surrounded by beauty. Nature is a great catalyst for being present, listening, and so on. A meditation, however that looks like to you, closed eye, reflective. And in my meditation, I'm just having awareness around my framing question. What do I need to know now? And at some point, you might see something, you might feel or sense something in that meditation. It could be an image, it could be a color, a texture, it could be a place. What is that? And then I invite you to just choose something from that, one of those impressions, and bring that into your drawing. So you have your materials here on hand. Now remember the 2 questions, no thinking and no judgment. How do I start? What color do I pick? Well, I say let the color pick you. What color? Let the color pick you. So in my intention, in my awareness, my meditation, I might sense there's a green color, all right? And it's feeling very kind of rough, maybe a little bit heavy. And so, I just let my hand come over these colors here, and I choose one. Yeah, and I begin drawing. I might start with giving that circle. And again, remember the no thinking, no judgment. I just begin drawing. Whatever it is, that impression that I have seen or connect with or sense, I just begin doing that and doing that. And again, this is all about awareness. How am I feeling while I'm doing this? What is the colors bringing up in me? Do I want to, press harder, and there's an emotion to that? Do I want to go more lightly? Do I want to use the softer edge of the materials? And there's an emotion to that. There's an awareness to that, right? Just having that awareness, and I keep going with whatever color that I've chosen, whatever kind of imagery that might be coming up here. I'm just kind of adding some stuff here, and so on. And I keep going until the drawing feels complete. How long is that? I don't know. That's up to you. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that is maybe how I would draw that. And then after I've drawn that, then what is a word? A word or a phrase that represents, something that I see in this image, perhaps a visual element, how I'm feeling while I'm doing it. Could be, an anchor for that. And I'm just going to say, because we're just doing this as a demo, I don't know. I'm just going to, write making space here. Let's say that's my awareness of a title or a word. And then I could write any other words that might support that, my awareness, right? I'm bringing from my unconscious or subconscious, bringing it out, giving it form. That's the value. So this is part 1, right? Part 1. Now I take this drawing, and here's what I like to do is I take this and I put it somewhere in my room. Yeah. So I change the dynamic a little bit. And I might set this up on a chair. I'm just going to set this over here for now on this flip chart stand. And then I stand in front of it, or I sit in front of it like I am here. Give myself some space, right? The image is directly in front of me, and I'm just having a relationship with that. I'm curious about that. I'm feeling into that. And here's the invitation is to imagine that's an environment that I'm stepping into. And while I'm in that environment of this drawing, what do I notice? What gets my attention? What do I feel? What stands out? Is there something that I'm attracted to? Is there something that I don't like, right? What are you noticing? It's your sensing journey. It's an open eye meditation. Yeah? And then what I do is I come back to my second drawing. And let's say I look at this image here and I might say, oh, I don't know, these red circles feel a little bit left out. They feel like, I don't know what they are. I'm curious. They look lost. They need some, they need something to sustain them. Yeah. So that might be my, my curiosity on doing the first drawing. And so I come back here now to the second one. I put this to the side, and I might just say, okay, I was curious about those little circles. Maybe I'm just going to use those as a starting point, right? And I'm going to see what emerges with them. I'm going to give them more space and more life and more presence, and see what they say to me, right? And I might just keep drawing that and drawing that and drawing that. And again, no thinking, no judgment, just see what emerges here. I may use some of the same colors from my original image. I may use something different. And I'm just kind of doing this as a demo, right? But, I would doing this with awareness and, appreciation of what's emerging in terms of imagery, in terms of my own experience is important, the colors, and then just keep going again until the drawing feels complete. And again, I might give that a title. Through my awareness. Yeah, and I'm curious, right? Bringing to life. Let's say that's my title. Yeah, and so that's the process. You've created, two drawings. One is kind of the question, and you started with this framing question that you've written and considered and did a bit of a meditation, reflection on. You create the image, then you become curious about that. You sense into it. Yeah. And then you bring something from that original drawing and build onto that in the second drawing, adding some titles. And then I would invite you then, using more of a writing pen, or you might have a journal that you bring with you, is either on the drawing itself or maybe on the back or maybe in a separate journal, is just to do some journaling, do some writing about this experience, the overall experience of the two drawings, of what you see here, what's emerging for you, right? Because this is, again, it's a language of the soul. You're bringing what is inside and not expressed, giving it a voice through this platform of the drawing. Okay, so that's kind of a quick overview on the mandala process. I have a few samples. So here's an example of the two drawings. Yeah? Maybe I use this camera, it's easier. Okay, so here's an example. The drawing one, isolated lookout. And then I used, these elements I was curious about, and I wanted to give them life. So I brought it out like this. Yeah? Kind of similar to the demo I just did, right? So that was kind of in my mind. So you can see how, one is kind of question and one is, possibility. Yeah. And the way I use this tool and the way I frame it, it's like a visual affirmation. Yeah. There's a title here. There's some insights and some words and maybe more reflections that you've written. But this thing right? What is that? That's power. That's curiosity. That came from you. That came from the root and the seed of your question. You're giving it life. You're giving it form. I invite you and I invite participants to, put this somewhere where you can see it every day, where you meditate. Put it on your, next to your bed. You look at it at night. Be curious about this because these are symbols. These are the language of the soul. They come through in dreams in different ways. Meditation. You can draw this again. You can, whenever you have time and take time, draw this again consciously, intentionally. Be curious. How is it emerging? What's evolving? What else is becoming? Maybe there's a story to this. I think every art is an invitation to a different place, right? Like a bridge, like I mentioned. Okay, so those are some examples. These are simple examples just to give you a sense of what's possible with the color and the richness. This is interesting, right? Because a drawing can hold, here's one of the powers of drawing, it can hold opposites. It gives us a voice for things that we can't articulate or don't make sense in other ways, right? United and ununited, as it says here. So it can hold opposites, which is kind of, speaks to our human condition. Yeah, some different things here. And I have a bunch of these. So, this is just a tool that you can use anytime you feel flustered, challenged, curious. And the context of this summit is how do we awaken our heart, awaken our soul's purpose. So maybe that could be the framing question to consider is, what's my soul's purpose? What is wanting to emerge through me? Great, everybody. I hope that's been helpful. I love sharing these tools. If you're, interested to connect with me, I'm sure, check the links there. We do other kind of workshops, with Giselle, with other intuitive practitioners, with corporate practitioners. We do visual workshops on visual sketchnoting skills that are visual tools for your personal reflection and learning and professional meeting, note-taking that brings curiosity and engagement into your meeting. We do programs on visual facilitation that support you to use visuals in a coaching, in a learning, in a research, in a leadership capacity, anytime you're working with groups to move towards an outcome together. Yeah, so thanks everybody, and enjoy your drawing and your process. And here's what I always say, visuals are a tool that is a way to connect to your heart. My young son makes drawings every day, and he's connecting to his heart. And we all have that young child inside of us that has the curiosity, has that sense of anything is possible. So I believe when we pick up a creative tool, markers, pastels, crayons, and so on, it helps us to connect to that sense of possibility. So keep creating, keep drawing, and remember, every drawing is a gift. Thanks, everybody. Take care.